How I feel? Left. What I want?
Get back slow. I love the way she rock her hips. I love the way she move it, shake it on me. When she pop her hips, the shawty is the winner. You can tell that shawty's no beginner. She's confident. I love the way she move.
YouTube, what's going on? It's Juan Gotti here with another Washington Commanders video, and in today's video, I'm coming on here with the video where we're going to be talking about should the Washington Commanders be interested in Jim Harbaugh as their next head coach. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. But before we do, make sure you guys go down below, leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're on the road to 7,000 subscribers. It'd be greatly appreciated if you guys can help me reach that goal. Also, subscribe to Juan Gotti TV if you're going to be interested in non-sports content. If that is not for you, don't bother subscribing. Now with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into today's video. So as we know, at the end of the season, more likely than not, the Washington Commanders will be moving on from their current regime led by Ron Rivera. So obviously that leaves a hole and vacancy at the head coaching position. A guy that's been linked to this team for multiple years now has been Michigan Wolverines head coach Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh is not no spring chicken. He's been around the block plenty of times. As in fact, he has been a coach since 1994, both collegiate and NFL combined. Now, for the last couple of years, he has been talked about leaving Michigan, but every year he always seems to go back. Now, this could be the final year due to a lot of things, due to the lack of championship rings, the lack of college football playoffs, first round exits, and the lack of just Michigan's standard is winning championships, and they haven't done that there in Michigan in a while. So it's going to be a big task. They have a really good chance this year if they can get past Alabama. And if he doesn't, in fact, win the National Football Championship this year, he could be on the move and looking to come back to the NFL. He's a guy that has also dealt with some scandal issues this year, some sign stealing scandal issues this year. So we all know what that's about too. If you've been keeping up, if not, he was punished by the Big Ten for the sign stealing scandal or whatever. But he is back on the sideline due in the college football playoffs coming up here shortly. Now let's learn a little bit about Jim Harbaugh if you're not too familiar with him. So he got his coaching career started at Western Kentucky in 1994. Then he moved to Oakland Raiders in 2002 as an assistant under Bill Callahan's unit. Then he went to the University of San Diego to become their head coach. And then after that stint, he went to Stanford to become their head coach from 2007 to 2010. Then after that, he came back to the NFL to be the head coach for the San Francisco 49ers. And this is probably his most famous role besides, the Michigan Wolverines head coach. As we know, during his tenure, he had a really good stretch. And then one of them landed him in the Super Bowl playing against his brother, John Harbaugh of the Baltimore Ravens. Then after following his career in the 49ers, he then went back to college and became Michigan's head coach in 2014, and he's been there ever since. Now, here's my thing about it, right? You look at his schedule. I mean, you look at his record. You go down, look at his record. All right, so he started off 2004 with San Diego, right? 7-4. Second in the North. Then he went 11-1 both years, and then he moved to Stanford. Then he went to Stanford. After Stanford started off pretty slow, 4-8, 5-7. They then picked it up with 8-5, and then 12-1. And then after that, he went to Michigan after his tenure in the NFL. He went to the tenure after the tenure in the NFL. He went to Michigan. Then he went 10-3, 10-3. Then he went 8-5, and then after that, he went 10-3 again. Then he went 9-4, then 2-4 in the 2020. Obviously, that was the COVID year. 2021, 12-2, 13-1, and 10-0 this past year. So he's had a really good track record of turning around teams. Now, to his NFL tenure in between that, in 2011, he finished 13-3, lost to the New York Giants in the NFC Championship. Then in 2012, he went 11-4. Lost to the Baltimore Ravens in the Super Bowl. Then in 2013, he went 12-4, lost to the Seattle Seahawks in the NFC Championship game. The famous, when you try me like a sorry wide receiver like Crabtree, that's what's gonna happen, per Richard Sherman. Then in his last year in the NFL, he went 8-8 and finished third in the NFC West. So, if you ask me personally, okay, if you look at his track record, he has a good track record of turning teams around. This is the perfect team for him to do that, though, because this team has been struggling, been in that mediocre round with Ron Rivera for the past couple years, 7-9, 7-10, 8-1, and then now this year we're probably going to bottom out. So this is the perfect organization for him to come here and turn that thing around. The thing is, though, about Jim Harbaugh is that he might be wanting to have the same control that Ron Rivera had. He's going to probably want to make this thing a coach-centric approach, and we just got out of that. So if we, in fact, hire Jim Harbaugh, I personally believe that you can kiss the GM goodbye. You can kiss the president goodbye, because then this will be the coach-centric approach thing. We'll have a GM, but it'll be because Jim Harbaugh decided to hire the GM. So basically, it's going to be Ron Rivera 2.0, and we've seen how that worked out here. Josh Hurst typically likes to do things the right way, and that is hiring a GM, then the GM hires the head coach. But that's probably what we're going to do, and that's probably why Jim Harbaugh is not going to be the head coach. But again, on-field performance, he has a good track record of turning terrible programs and organizations into winners. Now, that's regular season winners. In the postseason, he hasn't been able to get it done, both collegiate and in the pros. Yeah, in the pros, he made it to the Super Bowl one time, but out of that, he didn't win, and then he still lost in the NFC Championship a couple times. Then, obviously, in Michigan, he has yet to win, the championship game, the national championship game. But he's always had good regular season. So let's go ahead. I have to learn a little bit about him. Let's go ahead and bring the full screen back up, and I'm going to tell you guys my honest opinion more. Jim Harbaugh, me personally, I don't want him only because I want a young head coach, and I want a guy that is potentially get us over the hump. Obviously, I know a lot of y'all are going to be like, Juan, we're not even relevant enough to be talking about Jim Harbaugh like he's not a good coach. I'm not saying he's not a good coach. He's a good coach. But he has a track record of not getting over the hump. And I don't want that to become the new norm here. Obviously, right now, we would take any kind of norm when it comes to winning. But that gets old fast. The same way that we want head coaches gone because they're terrible 3-13 or, just 4-12 or Ron Rivera's case average. We want them gone because they never can win. That's good. You know what I'm saying? I understand that. We want them gone. But then, after that, we get a head coach that constantly loses in the NFC Championship. We're going to be wanting him gone because he can't get over the hump. You know what I'm saying? So I personally would just go with a young guy that can, relate to these players, that can, be up to speed with today's game. Again, he's 60 years old. Same with Ron Rivera's age. And these guys, older guys, have ways that they want to run programs and teams. And it doesn't always generate and work, especially in the NFL. Now, it may work in college. But even in college, you can see that he's not having the success that he would like. Again, regular season is cool, but you always expect to have a really good Michigan regular season. It's all about the postseason, and they're yet to cash it in. And again, I don't want that to become the new norm here in Washington, where we're constantly winning games, but anytime we get to the big game, we always lose. I don't want to become the Buffalo Bills of the NFC. You feel me? So, with that being said, though, Jim Harbaugh was a quarterback in the NFL, so he could be good for Sam Howell. But also on the flip side, he's not an offensive-minded. Well, he may be an offensive-minded guy because he was quarterback, but I don't know if he's more of an offensive-minded guy or a defensive-minded guy when it comes to play calling, or maybe he just doesn't like play calling at all. Needless to say, you're still going to have an offensive coordinator. And you're going to have an offensive coordinator with Jim Harbaugh. You're going to be having a guy that is potentially going to be inquiring of a head coach job in 2 to 3 years from now. And I don't want that. You know what I'm saying? Because I want a guy that's going to be able to pair up with my young quarterback for 10 to 15 years from now on. Okay, I don't want to constantly move on from offensive coordinators because you never know how they're going to respond. You don't know if we're going to be able to find the same one that was working here before. Unless Jim Harbaugh decides to call plays. But again, I don't think a 60-year-old guy wants to do all that. You feel me? So I personally wouldn't want Jim Harbaugh here because of the potential of him wanting to have coach-centric approach and a regime, and also due to the fact that he's just older. I just want some young blood. You know what I'm saying? I want a 38-year-old. I want a 37-year-old, 35-year-old, just a young guy that can relate to these players and be up to date with this day and age in the NFL. No shot at John Harbaugh or Jim. Yeah, no shot at Jim Harbaugh. Always get it mixed up. No shot at Jim Harbaugh. You know what I'm saying? But I personally wouldn't want him here. Now, if they go out and get him, I'm not gonna be mad. I'm gonna trust the process. And then on top of that, he's coming from college, right? So he's gonna require like a lot of money potentially. Like he's gonna want a lot of money. So, hey, money probably isn't an issue. It's probably the last thing on the mind, but still, I personally would just go in a different direction. So again, if you're asking me personally, though, I wouldn't want Jim Harbaugh here, but if they did, in fact, decide to hire him, I'm going to trust the process because I believe in Josh Hurst. So with that being said, as always, me and boy Juan Gotti. Like, comment, subscribe, hail to the Washington Commanders. Leave your thoughts and comments down below about today's video. Would you want Jim Harbaugh? Yes or no? Now, with all that out the way, see y'all later. Y'all have a blessed one. Peace.